What's up everybody, Dirt Sheet Dan here, and welcome to my brand new show, the Rivalry Recap. The premise is simple. We're going to go back at some of GLWA's best rivalries and break them down. So for some of our newer fans, this will be a nice new experience, giving you some information you may or may not know. And for our day ones, this should be a bit of a nostalgia run. So without further ado, the first rivalry we will be recapping is Tyler "By God" Matthews versus the Golden Grin Timothy Savage. These two men know each other very well. How? Well, let's go to the beginning. Savage and Tyler actually started in a faction known as the House of Matthews, where Tyler was the leader and Savage was one of his many followers. Their first interaction was at Recoil 2019, where Tyler he'd compete in a gauntlet match. His first match was against Majestic, and well, he made quick work of her, beating her in about just a minute and a half. So, to up the ante, the second match was a handicap match. And his opponents, well, that so happened to be Timothy and his partner at the time, Lucius Savage. They were known as the Wreck Squad. Somehow, someway, Tyler was able to beat the Wreck Squad and run the gauntlet. So I believe Savage gained respect and started seeing Tyler's vision after this, because after seeing him prevail against the odds, the next show, Summer Bash, the Wreck Squad would help Tyler capture the race for the case, and the House of Matthews was formed. And oh boy, did they go on a run. Tyler getting a hold of the race for the case was only a taste of what was to come for the House of Matthews. He would keep the ball rolling by capturing the top-notch title at the very next show, Bad Company, dethroning the first ever top-notch champion, the amazing H2. Now with Tyler doing this, the House of Matthews essentially had all the power. Him holding both Race for the Case and the top-notch title meant he had the potential to become the first ever double champion in GLWA history. And Tyler would live up to that potential by cashing in at Breakthrough 2020, becoming both GLWA and top-notch champion, all the while with Savage by his side, following his vision. However, being a double champion comes with its tolls. While Tyler was able to hold on to both belts for about 5 months, he would lose the top-notch title at Rivalry 2 in a triple threat, and unfortunately, he'd lose the GLWA title due to an ankle injury he suffered, forcing him to vacate his belt and miss almost a year of his career. And with the news of Tyler having to sit out, it was on Savage to keep the vision going. He would make a great attempt by winning a #1 contender battle royal for the top-notch title. And although he didn't capture the championship on his first attempt, this would be a glimpse of what Savage's singles career would be like in GLWA. He'd go on to build up enough momentum to end up in a qualifying match for Race for the Case, where he'd use his tag experience to help him qualify in said match. And not only would Savage qualify, he'd go on to bring the Race to the Case back to the House of Matthews. However, he didn't win it for himself, because Tyler would make his long-awaited return at Rivalry 3. Savage set the ladder up for him, Tyler grabbed the briefcase, but this wasn't the most shocking thing that happened, because as soon as Matthews got his hands on that Race for the Case for the second time, he hit Savage with a conversion and signed his name on a contract and hightailed it out of there before anyone can say otherwise. And when it comes to this rivalry, I would say this was the spark. Now I say this was only the spark because shockingly enough, Savage would continue to stay by Tyler's side. Matthews would tell Savage at Recoil 2020 that he hit him with the conversion because he believed that Savage was leading the House of Matthews astray by living in fear instead of faith. However, their conversation was interrupted by former top-notch champion Cliff Killmeister, who was also in that Race for the Case ladder match, and believed if it wasn't for the house, he'd have Race for the Case. Tyler took Killmeister's interruption and used it to his advantage. He told Savage he believed in second chances, and all he had to do was beat Killmeister. So Savage versus Killmeister was set for the evening, and if Killmeister won, he'd get a shot at Race for the Case, and Savage, he'd be kicked from the House of Matthews. The match would end in controversy as Tyler would convince Savage to get counted out, which was confusing considering the stipulation of the match. However, it was only a setup for Tyler to introduce a brand new member to the house, the Dean of Mean, Caesar Asher. While everyone was questioning what was happening, Asher would soften Killmeister up for Tyler by cutting him in half with a very vicious spear. With the addition of Caesar, the House of Matthews seemed to be stronger than ever. But as soon as Savage gave Matthews the thumbs up, Tyler, he'd respond with the thumbs down. And then out of nowhere, Asher obliterated Savage, leaving everyone and Timothy himself to believe he was no longer part of the house. He'd find out later in the evening that it was all just a loyalty test to see if he was still living in fear or if he was living in faith. Tyler said he passed the test and welcomed Savage back into the house with open arms. Now you have to wonder, A, why would Savage continue to stay by Tyler's side after all of that? And B, why did Tyler test Savage so much? Well, those answers didn't matter because the House of Matthews' second run was arguably better than their first. Tyler would go on to cash in Race for the Case for the second time, and Savage would go on to win the Top Notch title. Once again, the House of Matthews had all the gold, but all good things must come to an end. Tyler would lose his GLWA title to the same man Savage beat for the Top Notch title, the human highlight, Isaiah Moore. With Matthews losing his title but Savage keeping his, you have to feel Savage no longer needed Tyler or his vision. And this would turn out to be true because at Summer Bash 2022, Savage turned on Tyler, costing him the GLWA title. So with all that, let's go to the matchups. In order to get to Savage, Matthews had to compete in a #1 contenders match against a man they both know very well, Cliff Killmeister. Savage tried to cost both men their opportunity by interfering in the bout, causing the match to be thrown out. This plan would, however, backfire, because now he had to face both men in a triple threat with the top-notch title on the line. With Savage being the biggest target, he started the match by leaving, trying to let Matthews and Killmeisters go at each other. But both men saw through this plan, and they did what everyone thought they would do. They jumped Savage. After they took care of Savage, they quickly turned on each other, and it turned into a very physical and emotional match. All three men gave it their all, given their history, and what really stood out was the words Savage and Matthews exchanged throughout. And just as it looked like Tyler was about to pin Savage and get the victory, another House of Matthews member, Bojack, pulled the ref out, choosing to side with Savage. Bojack took out Killmeister and Matthews, then threw Tyler in the ring, and just before landing the finishing blow, Savage told Tyler he loved him, then pinned him 1, 2, 3. It was a hell of a way to kick off the first of 3 meetings throughout this rivalry. However, before they got to their second match at Seasons Beating 2022, Savage would add fuel to the fire because at Bad Company earlier in the year, Tyler had a match against the Man in Black, Dustin Mack, that ended in DQ after Savage attacked Tyler mid-match. And those actions had immediate consequences. Savage was already set to defend the top-notch title against Killmeister once again. This time, Matthews was the special guest referee. And that match ended probably as you expected. Savage lost his title, but to Tyler's credit, he did call the match fairly down the middle. And just as everyone thought the show was over, Savage and Matthews came brawling from the back. And with tensions so high, GM B.E. Stone was finally forced to make Matthews versus Savage a match. But not just any match, arguably GLWA's most popular match, a Miracle on 34th Street fight. Now we knew this match was going to be violent, especially when Tyler made his entrance bringing weapons with him to the ring. And once the bell rang, the two exchanged very few words before going at it like they were trying to end one another's career. From Tyler beating Savage with Christmas trees, to Savage dragging Tyler with a chain. And mind you, this all happened in about the first 5 minutes. You can see the brotherly love they once had turned into pure hatred. And I feel neither man really cared about the victory with the lengths they went to hurt each other. And to emphasize my point, the match, it ended in a no contest, after both men went through a 65-inch TV causing both of them to be knocked unconscious. Their first singles match delivered in more ways than one, all except for one thing, a true victory. This would be the perfect setup for their third meeting, especially because it was for the vacant GLWA title. Both competed in the annual Breakthrough Rumble in 2023, and usually the way to win is to throw everyone else over the top rope. But with the biggest prize on the line, the final two had to compete in a one fall to a finish, and the final two, poetically enough, was Savage and Tyler. It was short, but definitely a fight, even with both men exhausted from the Rumble. Savage would be the one to come out on top, hitting 2 Savage endings and pinning Tyler for the GLWA title, proving the student had usurped the teacher. What a trilogy between these two, very physical and emotional. So with that being said, let's go to the records and see where they are now. As stated before, Savage and Tyler had a total of 3 meetings throughout this rivalry. 1 triple threat and 2 singles matches. Savage won the triple threat in one of the single matches, while the other one ended in a draw, making the record Savage 2, Matthews 0, and there was 1 draw. Now Matthews may have not gotten a victory in the rivalry, but let's not forget, Tyler beat the Rec Squad, which you could say was the catalyst for this whole thing. So what happened after the rivalry, and where are they now? In an interesting turn of events, Savage, who came to Tyler as a tag team wrestler, would go on to be the longest reigning GLWA champion in history. And Tyler? Well, he became one half of the longest reigning tag team champions alongside Tone C after they formed Mob Mentality immediately after this feud. To date, the last time we've seen Tyler, he took a shocking loss to Boone Riley on the 84th episode of Vendetta. And we just saw Savage answer Jay Scott's open challenge at Ground Zero. And my sources tell me Savage might be trying to build momentum enough so he can end up in that race for the case match at WrestleVersary. And we only have one more show until WrestleVersary, and that's Turmoil, March 28th at Top Notch Physiques at 7 p.m. And if my sources are correct, which they usually are, we can probably expect to see both Savage and Tyler. So do yourself a favor, come down and watch. This has been Dirt Sheet Dan, and thank you for tuning in to the first ever Rivalry Recap. What a way to start, and I can't wait to do more. For our GLWA faithful, make sure to let me know what rivalries you'd like to see be recapped. And don't forget to follow GLWA on all its social media, and if you're subscribed to the Patreon, you'll get access to a whole slew of exclusive content, including our shows the month of, the Routing and Stone podcast, and interviews I'm going to do with multiple people about this very rivalry. So thank you once again for tuning in, and until next time, Dirt Sheet Dan, out.